Hey everybody, happy weekend and welcome back. It is time for another round table with Cinefix. We got everybody in the same room to talk about all the things, all at once. Starting us off, truly.
Carl Urban put up a video very recently asking people who want a sequel to Dredd to sign a petition. Now, if you haven't seen Dredd, there's obviously something wrong with you because it's one of the best movies of the last year. It is streaming everywhere. There is no reason why you haven't seen it, and it is fantastic. Stop doing this right now. You can pause it. You can wait. You can pause this and come back. Come back in an hour and a half, and that's all you will need to have your butts rocked off.
It is a brisk 90 minutes. It's not difficult to get through Dredd.
It's my greatest sin is not seeing that movie. I
grew
up with the comic books. I grew up with hating the Sloane version for not being like the comic books. And then this movie comes out and everybody's like, dude, you have to see it. It's exactly like the comic.
Okay. The highlight of Judge Dredd as a character for the entirety of the 90s was the pinball machine.
Right.
Like that was a good pinball machine.
That was a good pick.
I mean,
that is my sum total of my Dredd experience, actually. Chuck E. Cheese and the pinball machine.
Exactly.
I'm going to preface this comment by stating that I actually do really like this movie. But it is kind of the poor man's knockoff of The Raid.
Nope, it was in development before The Raid.
Yeah.
Well, I think the
clever
rejoinder.
Yeah, I mean, but ultimately, The Raid came out, and then Dredd came out, and who knows how much changed.
But I mean, they're totally different because The Raid is sort of a high-octane kung fu, and I know it's not kung fu, but essentially a kung fu movie.
Right.
And Dredd is martial arts.
Dredd is a bunch of people shooting each other.
Exactly.
It's a very good movie. I'm not saying it's not a very good movie.
For some reason, I feel like the argument always turns into we're not allowed to like both.
And
why
both
can't
are amazing?
Both
we
are amazing.
just have two amazing movies about working your way through a tower killing people?
Both of them were amazing.
If
and
I
The
had a
Raid
nickel,
2 is probably one of the best movies ever made.
Nobody complains that The Raid was exactly like Game of Death.
But the Raid is just slightly better.
Oh yeah, the Raid is the film school version of Dredd.
The Raid
It's beautiful.
The Raid is like eating a wonderful steak dinner if you like meat, and Dredd is like eating a whole bunch of candy. I can always eat a whole bunch of candy.
Yes, I will agree that Dredd is stuffing your face with candy.
Okay, but here's the bigger question is what do they do in the sequel?
I don't know. I'm excited.
Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think they should what I would be excited to see in Dredd 2 if Dredd 2 ever happens, and I signed the petition. I did it. I signed it.
I've never shared anything faster on Facebook.
I would like to see more of the world. It was awesome. It was a contained, awesome killer killing people up the spire. But now I want to see Dredd in the world.
Go sign the petition. We'll get ourselves another Dredd movie, and Carl Urban gets to work some more, which we're all going to be very excited about. Because, the dude needs work. Right? No. Anyway, let's move on. So, next topic. Mackenzie, what do you got?
So the teaser trailer for Girl Meets World came out this week, and the nostalgia factor got me. I was suddenly transported back into my PJs watching TGI Friday with Boy Meets World. The question is, why are we just remaking old brands and franchises that we know are successful? Can we come up with new ideas?
No.
Probably
not.
Is
Mr. Feeney coming back? That's the real
If Mr.
question.
Feeney comes back,
He is.
maybe
Yeah,
I'll
he
be
comes back.
At least for the first episode, he is there.
Here's the thing, it's not like they've never done this before. We all try to forget the fact that I loved Saved by the Bell, and then there was Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Yeah.
Nobody watched it. It was like, Screech is back, and Mr. Belding's back, but now he works in a mall. And we have new kids, but instead of seeing them in school, we're seeing them in the mall.
Well, what's weird
while
is
they should be in school.
The thing that's most alarming about it, it's like the uncanny valley. You see these people, you're accustomed to the way they look, and then their faces change shape in the wrong way.
Because they were actually 26 when they were playing 16, and now they're actually 35, and there's no
when
way
Ralph
to
Macchio was in the first Karate Kid movie, he was already 26, and the next one he's like, hey, Mr. And he he had the jowl thing. And it's the same thing. I mean,
So
Screech.
between Karate Kid movies, Ralph Macchio became a jowly smoker.
And Screech, he wasn't just a skinny, geeky kid. He's got a bone disease. That's why he looks that way.
In terms of Boy Meets World, I care about Corey and Topanga's relationship as they got together through their trials and tribulations of high school. I don't care about what happens to their children.
It's not like it's an interesting
They're not
universe,
real
you know?
people. Like, their
They're real to
children
me.
aren't real.
I feel like I should point out, though, that if this show is anything like the Boy Meets World original, that we are no longer in the target demographic. Like, not by any stretch of the
We're not
imagination.
going to watch it anyway.
But then what? But then what did it? What, like, if I was 13 and I never watched Boy Meets World, why not just come up with something new? What the f*** do I give a shit about Corey and Topanga's kids?
There's no brand
you
allegiance.
pitch it to the 30-something executives who remember Boy Meets World, that you can just say, hey, it's like this show, we even have those characters, it'll be fun.
I get why you would do it to an executive. I don't get why you would do it to the audience.
My question is
Because
this.
who
My
cares?
question
It's
is
another
this.
Disney show with the same characters.
My
over
question.
again.
My question is this: is there an elevated rate of suicide among Disney set dressers?
What?
Given look at the color palette of the trailer, and it's exactly the same color palette. And these guys, they're going like red lamp in the corner. Oh God, I'm gonna kill myself. So I just wonder.
If I have to put another red lamp in a corner, I do think there is something about how you repurpose a brand that's old, and if it's just like, as a writer, do you do that just so that you can sell the idea?
Well, it's like the Mr. Peabody movie. Like, why would you remake something when the kids don't even know what that is?
I took a kid to that movie. He laughed at the bit where they popped out of the Sphinx's butt, like,
Well, that's
literally on
funny.
the floor laughing.
Well, that's funny.
That's all he cared about.
See, but I get it for stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
me too.
get it for, like, here's a character, like Sherlock Holmes. Here's Sherlock Holmes. 13-year-olds right now don't know who Sherlock Holmes is. Let's reimagine and reintroduce this to a new generation. I totally get it in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it in the, like, this is a suburban family sitcom that existed 20 years ago. It's not like that is a character, a world that
We have
should be
enough of
reintroduced to a new
Oh, that
generation.
Boy Meets World mythology. You gotta bring that back.
I do think the tendency, though, to revamp or to repurpose a show like that does at some point get us some fun stuff, such
Speaking
as.
Apparently they are making a Battlestar Galactica movie, and not based off of the 2003 Ron Moore created television show, but presumably a remake, reboot of the 1970s, 1980s television show. And now that is some mythology that I think is worth revisiting. And if it turns out anything like the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, I think the 80s show could really benefit from the 21st century sheen that modern movie production can allow.
The original Battlestar Galactica was just so good, and I've watched that all throughout my childhood, all the reruns.
There's also great stuff like from that period where they go like, what if there's a character from a planet that had really high gravity, and so now he's super strong, and this guy he's like crushing a gun and twisting, everybody's ooh, and that's like a total thing from like $6 Million Man.
You got the best buddy drama going on there, buddy comedy drama going on between Starbuck and what's his bucket that nobody ever remembers the name of.
Apollo?
Wasn't Starbuck a guy?
Yes.
Starbuck was a guy originally, yeah.
And him and Apollo got some 80s going on?
Yo, bro.
Buddy,
Buddy, not.
Buddy comedy.
What did you think he said?
Well, because the new Starbuck, I got real confused.
Did you think butt-y?
Buddy.
So is Bryan Singer going to basically Superman this one? I don't.
Oof, yeah.
Oh, is Singer attached to this?
I don't know.
So I
is
guess
he
we got
attached
the-
or is he rumored? I don't
know, but if he X-Mans it, that's a good thing. If he Superman's it, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm both really excited about it because I really love the universe. Like, I even loved Caprica, even though most people hated it.
But it was pretty sweet.
I thought it had like all this stuff to say about identity and like who you are.
It was a cool like exploration of nerd alerts, the singularity, and like exploring that idea. But
at the same time, I'm a little hesitant because in my mind, it's like, you already rebooted it to be a really good show. So if you're just going to tell the same story again in an hour and a half.
Well, I feel they rebooted it in 2004 to be a really good show that felt very much like a theater play, like all this sort of human drama, centered political stuff. If they reboot it to be a big budget movie, I think there's a whole nother ground to cover there.
Well, really, I think what's happening is Universal is like, well, where's our Marvel universe? And where's our... I want a big...
We don't have DC or Marvel.
I don't have any comic books. But I think a bigger question is, like, how much mileage does any one universe have? You know, like, if it's been rebooted and reimagined several times already, so it's like, I mean, if there's something new to say about it and another fresh take on it, great, I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's a very cool world. And we'll see what they do.
Well, and especially in an age where everything's available. Like, if it was the 80s and it's harder for you to go back and watch old television or an old movie, then that it all makes a lot more sense. But now, where like at any point you can just be like, okay, go watch both the 1980 Battlestar Galactica and the reboot. I mean, it's one of the coolest things. Do I really need a reintroduction to it when it's sitting on my television?
But it is one of the coolest things about Netflix and about streaming stuff is like it's new fans for old stuff.
That's what I'm
Which
thinking,
is pretty cool. So I mean, maybe that makes it more relevant. Maybe it makes it less relevant. I don't really know.
We do get hung up on this like aversion to reboots, and like I definitely like I just want news stories. Give me a news story. Stop telling me how Spider-Man got bit by a spider every 5 years.
Oh, spoiler alert! Thanks a lot.
But at the same time, film actually suffers a little bit from not being able to constantly reimagine and constantly revamp. You got this like opportunity with theater for every single day. You get to revamp it and revisit it. You can switch out actors and like get different takes on it. Like that's why Shakespeare is so good. It's been around for 500 years, and it's just constantly being taken by new directors, new actors are like revisiting these now classic characters and finding new angles. I kind of like that we're speeding up the reboot cycle, and with Battlestar Galactica, I think it's gonna be really cool to have a third take on Starbuck.
I'm with you to a certain extent in that like I don't mind a reboot. I don't mind revisiting things because ultimately there's 7, 8 stories total. Like
35.
Okay, whatever. The point is, there's a finite numbers of stories to tell. So if we're rebooting one franchise or if we're just calling it something different,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter all that much, so long as you don't total recall it and you try to do something new. You try to do something.
Yeah, you don't just try and rehash.
Because you're right about putting different spins on things and a different take on Starbuck and all that stuff. But so long as you actually do that, like, give me a different take.
Well, like the RoboCop remake, I was actually really glad that it tried something new. I think there was a good portion of that movie that didn't work, but it was nice to not see just a straight rehash.
As long as it doesn't turn into getting some really good actor and being like, okay, do an impression of this guy.
Look, I mean, so long as there's a new take on it, and so long as they end up giving me a Red Band trailer for it, everything will be fine.
Speaking of Red Band trailers,
nice little transition.
I'd like to briefly state something that I'm a little bit angry about right now. Red Band trailers, I remember the very first one that I ever saw when I was a kid, a long time ago, it's true. The movie, the great 1980s vampire space opera movie Life Force.
Oh God!
Yeah. I was in the theater and this comes on and it was the first time and it said like this. Instead of saying this preview is approved for all audiences, it said it's approved for restricted audiences.
Wait, you saw Life Force as a kid?
Yeah, in the theater, baby.
There's just nudity all the way through that.
Yeah, that's my point.
Didn't everybody's parents take them to R-rated movies when they were 11?
Being that, the reason that was great was because boobies. I mean, that's what made that a great Red Band trailer, because it's a preview and it's naked people, right? So now everybody, the people who make these trailers know that people click on these things because they think they're going to see something salacious. Boobies, right? And
that's why
so
I click on them.
Look at two recent examples. This film looks terrible. Sex Tape, Red Band trailer. Yeah, I bet. So Cameron Diaz. The most that you see is like Cameron Diaz's weathered nipples through a white T-shirt.
There's a few bad words in that trailer.
And there's bad words. That's the other thing. As I spit all over the place. Is then the other one is 22 Jump Street. Is that the name? Yeah. Which is just Ice Cube saying mother and then And that's where the red band comes from. Like, that's not a red band, man. We can hear that anywhere.
Where's all the boobies in my red band
Yes.
trailers?
But it's true. There's 11-year-olds watching Jenna Marbles going like my on the internet,
Right.
and so what? And they don't. There's no disclaimer
There's
before
no
Jenna
red
Marbles,
band.
right?
So I think that they've overinflated. Somebody should be policing this. Is my point.
Well, there is somebody policing. It's the MPAA.
MPAA.
Well,
But
no,
the thing is, it's
they're policing it the wrong way. I'm saying they police it the other way and go, that's not dirty enough. You can't call that a red band trailer.
That's a
the-
yellow band.
Yeah, these are the guys who go. Oh,
because
there's no
like
movies.
I worked on trailers for 5 years, and like just every movie come in, you cut the trailer, it goes out to MPAA, comes back, and they're like, that girl was too fat to kiss, and like seriously, like that was a thing, and it makes it look like it might be a homosexual relationship,
Right.
So you can't have that, and it's like, but you can have two guys kiss if they're clearly gay.
One of them isn't fat.
If they're clearly
Right.
gay,
If they're good
which you
looking.
can see.
My favorite story is there's in What Happens in Vegas, there's a really funny joke that was supposed to be in there where Sudeikis says, I really enjoy what you've been doing with my balls. And it's funny, but they were like, that's an R rating because it's verbal full frontal nudity. Verbal full frontal nudity. And meanwhile, Hostel Part 2 is coming out, and there's a scene where a woman has a girl hanging upside down over a bathtub, slits her throat, and masturbates in her blood. And that is also R rated. So it's like Jason Sudeikis saying, I really enjoy what you've been doing with my balls, makes it just as bad as Hostel 2, which is like
A bunch of people
stupidest thing of all
A bunch
time.
of people just stopped this to go watch Hostel 2.
And nobody stopped it to go watch Jason Sudeikis.
If you go watch the special features of the What Happens in Vegas DVD, there's a really great gag reel when he came in to ADR the line of him doing all these different like daddy bags and like all these different synonyms for balls. It's really funny.
Well, that's why there's a whole lot of assheads on television, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's
I think between
You slugging a
She's
dish.
Too Fat to Kiss
Yeah.
and verbal full frontal nudity, I'm done.
Yeah.
I will never listen to a rating ever again. I'm gonna take my children only to R movies.
And go watch, like, pay attention to the verbiage underneath the rating. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
and go
crude
back,
language.
Well, and
What
go
is
back
that?
and look at the language that's in the ratings 15, 20 years ago, and it's just like PG-13 for violence. And then now it's PG-13 for some rude humor
Drug
and
references.
mature situations involving teenagers.
What gets me is when like there's like a pretty straightforward, non-offensive, independent movie with like a lady's crotch in it. Or some boobies.
God, you just made that sound so yucky. Ladies' crotch.
Well, okay, fine. So there's some like beautiful independent movie with like
Some beautiful lady
full
crotch.
frontal lady
Oh,
crotch
lady crotch.
and some boobles.
Are we talking
And-
about Bound?
Maybe.
That's a
And
good one. That's a good one.
and it gets like a X rating because it's
Right, NC-17, because that way it can still be considered
And then
R.
there's like a studio movie that's a piece of that has like 100 naked women running around in slow motion, and they're like PG-13.
Wow, that sounds like a good one.
I think we're all going to go look for that hundreds of slow motion boobies movie right now. So that seems like as good a place as any to wrap it up for today. Let us know what you think of all of that in the comments down below. Also, let us know what topics you want us to cover in next week's roundtable. Give us some cool suggestions and we'll talk about them. Come back next time for more movie news on Cinefix Now. Click like and subscribe, and we will see you later. Trailing off.
Like Chariots of Fire.
It's Monty Python, The Meaning of Life, when all the women are running with chasing him and they chase him off the cliff.